Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. My name is Nancy Lindborg. I'm the president of the United States Institute of Peace, and I'm delighted to welcome everybody here. For those of you who are here for the first time, U.S. Institute of Peace was founded by Congress in 1984, dedicated to the proposition that peace is possible, that peace is practical, and that it is essential for national and international security. And we work across the federal government and with a diverse array of partners around the world, with individuals, with organizations, and with governments to equip them with the tools, the information, and the learning, the joint learning on how to make peace possible. USIP worked in Nepal for several years, starting in 2006. And I personally lived in Nepal in the early 1980s. And I think, like many people probably in this room and certainly across the country, Nepal holds a very special place in many of our hearts. And everybody is keen to see Nepal succeed because of the love that we have for the people and the country. I want to just note, as many of you are probably keenly aware of, today is the one-year anniversary of a very devastating earthquake that struck Nepal. It ended up with over 8,000 people dead, 3.5 million people without homes. This was the earthquake that many people had been preparing for a very long time, knowing what a seismically difficult zone earthquake is situated in. And I want to give a shout out, I don't know if they're here yet, to my former USAID colleagues, including Bill Berger, who ran the Disaster Assistance Response Team, and Ward Miller, if he's here. There you are. There you are. Yeah. So, I don't know if Beth is with you. But the world really mobilized, and the Nepali government, the people, the international community put a tremendous amount of effort into trying to do immediate rescue and rebuilding the country in the intervening year. And this today is in part a time to reflect on the progress that's been made and the challenges that remain and the lessons that we've learned. As fragile as Nepal's political consensus was prior to the earthquake, and as significant as the damage of the earthquake, this rebuilding effort has the real potential to reshape the country's political future for decades to come. And it's more important than ever for Nepal and its many, many supporters that the process be carried out in a manner that really bridges and unites Nepal's divides. And I know that the government shares this goal. USIP's experience in Nepal and really across the world suggests that it's only through building these social, political, as well as physical foundations that Nepal can really successfully revive its economic opportunities for its people and reshape the country and remain resilient in the face of what we know are many physical challenges. So we're honored to host today His Excellency Kamal Thapa, the Deputy Prime Minister, as well as the Foreign Minister of Nepal. He's in a critical position to lead on many of these issues. And I look forward to hearing his thoughts on how the efforts have been thus far, as well as the many other processes underway in Nepal. And here to introduce him is Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs, Nisha Desai Biswal. Assistant Secretary Biswal has served in her current role since October 2013 with a portfolio that includes Nepal as well as its regional neighbors. Previous to that, Nisha was the Assistant Administrator for Asia at USAID. Before that, she held several leadership positions on the Hill. She's a good friend to the region, a great friend to the Institute, and someone I count as a very dear friend. We're delighted to have her here. After Deputy Prime Minister Thapa's remarks, we'll continue the conversation and take your questions. We look forward to that, and now please join me in welcoming Assistant Secretary Biswal.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for hosting us today, for your long-standing friendship with the people of Nepal, and also for your commitment and your leadership on humanitarian assistance and human security. Nancy, your voice has been a really important voice, whether you were in government, whether you were outside of government. It has been a guidepost for so many of us on trying to find our own moral compass and policy focus. So thank you, Nancy. I can't think of a better place for you to be than USIP, and I can't think of a better place to hold this event than at an institution that has really been focused on peace building, on reconciliation, and on moving us closer towards a world without conflict. It is my great pleasure today to be able to introduce the Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal, who is an accomplished politician, respected diplomat who has held many portfolios throughout his career, but also, I must say, quite an athlete. He is not only a skilled tennis player, but also was on the national soccer team of Nepal, and I know continues to be very active today. And to underscore that we in the U.S. government know talent when we see it, I take pride in saying that the Deputy Prime Minister is also an alumnus of our IVLP exchange program. The Deputy Prime Minister has come a very long way to be with us today on the one-year anniversary of the terrible earthquake that struck Nepal. A tragedy of immense scale, but one which the people of his nation bore with tremendous bravery, courage, and care for their fellow countrymen. I was in Nepal shortly after the earthquake and saw the devastation, the pain, and the suffering of its people. But I also witnessed their resilience and their strong spirit. And I saw that even though many had lost homes, friends, and family, they had not lost hope. I was heartened by the efforts from nations all around the world, the near neighbors as well as the far friends, to sustain that hope. Military officers, diplomats, rescue workers, and good people from every walk of life join hands to help Nepalis. In fact, my flight that came from Istanbul to Kathmandu was filled with relief workers, every seat. And they were already in their gear, ready to get off the plane and go to work. It was a very moving sight to be on that airplane. The earthquake struck Nepal as it was transitioning from a decade-long insurgency that had, for many parts of the country's diverse population, crystallized feelings of deep-seated grievance and mistrust. The new constitution, promulgated last fall, marked an important milestone along the journey to inclusive democracy. The task now is to ensure that that constitution, as well as any implementing law, has the broadest possible support in every part of the country and enshrines and protects human rights and fundamental freedoms, along with gender equality, inclusivity, and equal rights to citizenship. It will require a lot of work and constant vigilance by Nepal's government, by a free press, and by independent human rights organizations, as well as all citizens, to avoid the dangers of new conflicts and the pitfalls of gender discrimination, religious intolerance, or marginalization. We've already seen how unaddressed grievances like those held by the people of the Terai on issues like demarcation or the parameters for citizenship can result in negative consequences for Nepal's economy and society. But I know that the Deputy Prime Minister and the people of Nepal still believe in that vision of inclusion, and that the destination may yet be a way off, but it is one that I firmly believe they can achieve. And so I know that as the people of Nepal have come out of the earthquake and they have come out of the political crisis, that Nepal can and will build back stronger. That is our firm hope, and we will partner with the government of Nepal to ensure and enable that vision. The road is long, and sometimes time is of the essence, but we are committed to helping Nepal achieve its full potential for the benefits of all Nepalis. And today we have the honor of hearing directly from one of Nepal's highest-ranking officials on how his government plans to move the nation forward and seize the opportunity. It is therefore my great honor to introduce to you His Excellency Kamal Thapa, the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Nepal. Mr. Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Nisa, for inviting me to this very important meeting today. Before going on to my written text, I would like to say a few words about the tragedy that Nepal had to face exactly 1 year ago. Last year, on 25th April, Nepal was struck by a massive earthquake that caused almost 9,000 lives. It destroyed almost 600,000 houses, private houses. More than 7,000 school buildings were collapsed. More than 3.5 million Nepalese people have become homeless suddenly. And on economic terms, it is estimated that almost $7 billion loss has been incurred in terms of economy. That was a severe blow for a country like Nepal, which had suffered from 10 years of insurgency. The Maoist insurgency took lives of nearly 17,000 people. And beside that, it also had a tremendous impact on our socio-economic and political life. When we are slowly emerging out of that crisis, the sudden hit by the earthquake has really devastated us. But as Assistant Secretary of State has rightly said, that Nepalese people have a tremendous level of resilience. We lost many lives. We lost many things. But you are right that we didn't lose hope. As a matter of fact, the earthquake created an environment, political environment, where all the political parties who were fighting each other for 8 years on different issues, they came together, they stood together, and agreed to bring out the new constitution of the country. So today, I also would like to thank the international community, our immediate neighbors who came to rescue, who came to provide relief materials within hours, and also the international community, United States, and other many countries who came with a very warm heart and helping hands. That really helped us, and we believe that we'll be able to overcome this tragedy and will build back better, not only reconstruct, but we will take it as an opportunity to make a stronger, prosperous new Nepal. So this is the commitment of the government, commitment of the political parties, regardless of faith and ideology. We are all together in addressing the issues of reconstruction. Couple of months back, the Parliament passed a reconstruction bill. Now we have a high-powered National Reconstruction Authority headed by the Prime Minister himself and a powerful Chief Executive Officer. We have already started the reconstruction process. It took some time. We accept that there has been some laggings. There are many regions. I don't want to go into the details. But last week, out of 600 houses destroyed, we have been able to identify 300,000 houses that needs to be immediately provided with government support for the reconstruction. And reconstruction, in fact, has already started. And we look forward for the continuous support from the international community, and especially we value very highly the support of the US government and the US people. I'm very happy to be among this August gathering this afternoon. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Today, I wish to share some of my thoughts and experiences on recent developments in Nepal. I will focus on our efforts to promote peace and democracy in our country. We are passing through the most difficult time in our contemporary history. Modern Nepal was founded by great King Prithvinarayan Shah in middle of the 18th century. Since then, Nepal has gone through several ups and downs. And while there have been several changes in the political systems and regimes, it has never experienced the crisis of this magnitude and character. Sadly, at present, we have fallen in the vicious circle of anarchy and instability. We went through more than a decade-long painful Maoist insurgency. It not only took 17,000 lives, moreover, it shook the very foundation of Nepal's existence. To bring the Maoists in the mainstream, we compromised many things. One of the compromises was to use the mechanism of Constituent Assembly to draft the constitution of the country. Thus, we entered into a phase of decade-long transition. Exactly 1 year ago, on 25th April last year, Nepal was hit by a massive earthquake. It killed 9,000 people, destroyed 600,000 private houses, and made 3 million people homeless. It is believed that the losses from the damages incurred in the earthquake has reached $7 billion US. Realizing the urgency of the hour, keeping aside serious ideological differences, Nepalese political parties came out with a new constitution. But again, sadly, 4 days after the promulgation of the new constitution, Nepal had to face an unexpected disruption of transit and supply system on our southern border. The damage caused by this unofficial blockade in our socio-economic and political sector cannot be measured in terms of values. All these events caused unprecedented damage to our country. However, having said that, I am quite optimistic about Nepal's future. Nepalese are known to be resilient people, and while we face several challenges in reestablishing normality, we also see opportunities. The present moment is a mix of opportunities as well as challenges. The opportunities are present because the insurgency followed by a peace process has come to an end. We have a new constitution that offers us a chance to start afresh. The constitution provides the platform for political stability and democratic environment that is essential for peace and prosperity. We also have the opportunity to latch on the explosive growth of our neighbors. We have to make the most of these opportunities to achieve peace and stability along with economic development. However, these opportunities are not without challenges. The situation in Nepal is still fluid and fragile, necessitating a sensitive approach. We have a heavily politicized society that has the potential to further divide us. Our governance structure and institutional support base are weak. And while the expectations from the government are very high, we are low on resources to meet our potential. Having said that, whatever the challenges may be, Nepal cannot afford to miss the opportunity to build towards political stability and peace. Failure to capitalize on the opportunity now could lead to a serious threat to national survival. There would be real risk posed in being a weak, poor, and fragile nation between two prosperous giant countries. Experiences shows that political change without economic development is futile. In order to sustain democracy and bring about stability, economic development is a must. The prosperity of people brought about by economic development has to be our strategy to survival. We believe the platform for us to take off into a new era of prosperity and stability already exists now. We have a new constitution and renewed commitment to take Nepal forward, and we cannot miss this opportunity. Hence, we need and actively seek the support and encouragement of international community to achieve economic developments and stability. Drafting the Constitution through Constituent Assembly was a top task. In Nepal's political, ideological, and socio-cultural diversity, it was even a tougher task. Well, there are some forces that are unhappy with the Constitution. I don't consider it unnatural, since the new Constitution is a document of compromise. It cannot make everyone happy. Even I am not happy. Because to tell you the truth, my party voted against the Constitution. Because some of our fundamental principles were not incorporated in the Constitution. But we supported the Constitution with some reservation because it was approved by not only two-thirds majority, but the overwhelming majority of 82%. And more than 90% of the elected representatives have signed the new Constitution. This in itself is a big achievement. I don't want to name any country, but those countries who have drafted their constitution through Constituent Assembly can hardly match Nepal's support rate so far the Constituent Assembly is concerned. I don't think there are many countries which can claim that they have the support of 90% elected representatives. Yes, there are shortcomings. No constitution in the world can claim that it is 100% perfect. And especially in a country like Nepal, let me share with you, there were 31 political parties in the Constituent Assembly of different political shades and ideological backgrounds. Out of 601 members of the Constituent Assembly, there were the representatives of Nepal's diverse socio-cultural background. So, from such a diverse elected representative to come out with a constitution in itself was a, I don't say it impossible, but was a very, very difficult task. But Nepal succeeded after a long, very chaotic process. There are shortcomings, but this constitution is a living document, a dynamic document, an amendable document. Let me tell you again, within 3 months, to address some of the grievances of the agitating political parties, we have already done the first amendment. And even now, yes, there are some grievances, especially on the Tarai area, adjoining Indian border. I'm sure that it would not be taken otherwise, but the issues that has been raised by some agitating political parties doesn't hold enough support base. But we don't simply ignore because they don't have a political support or this popular support. The government, not only the government, even the main opposition political party, the largest political party, we are all together, we are committed that we will address all the genuine issues of the agitating political parties. We know that until and unless we create an environment where every section of the Nepalese society can claim that this is my constitution and it would be in my interest to preserve it, there is always a possibility or the threat of destabilization. Nepal has gone through a very serious insurgency problem. We don't want to repeat that. Nepalese people simply cannot afford that. It is because of that reason the government and the political parties have gone extra mile to show the flexibility and to bring in all the political parties on board. The government has formed a negotiation team to sit in with the agitating political parties. I'm very happy to tell you that I have been entrusted to lead the negotiation team. We have gone through several rounds of negotiation with the agitating political parties, and major issues have been already addressed. There are a couple of issues. We think we'll be able to resolve that peacefully through negotiation and within the framework of the Constitution. And on this note, we look forward and request the international community to understand the political dynamics of Nepal and support not only the peace process, not only the constitution making, but also the efforts that the government and the main political parties are doing their level best in addressing the grievances of agitating political parties. Having said this about how we drafted the Constitution, I said before also that my party voted against the Constitution. But despite that, I can safely and proudly claim that there are many positives to the Constitution. It is a democratic document and incorporates universal values and norms of democracy and freedom. It is a living, dynamic, and amendable document. It has the capacity and provisions to resolve conflicts and crises while staying within its framework. It is inclusive, with reservation for marginalized communities, and interestingly, 1/3 of the seats guaranteed to women in the federal and provincial parliaments. At the local government level, 40% of women participation is mandatory. Significantly, either the president or the vice president of the country has to be woman. It's the same with the speaker or the deputy speaker. Thanks to the new constitution, I am proud to say that out of the 4 top positions, at present, 3 are held by women. We have a female president, Chief Justice, and the Speaker of the House. The Constitution also ensures that there is no discrimination at all on the basis of gender, ethnicity, and religion. We are the second country after India in South Asia to draft Constitution through Constituent Assembly, a representative body elected by the people. The new Constitution aims to provide a platform for peace, political stability, and inclusive and effective democracy. We believe that economic development and democracy are twin features that fuel each other. We are also well aware that peace, inclusive democracy, and market economy are ideas that conquer the world. And we intend to safeguard these ideals through the new Constitution. World history and our own experience of 6 decades have shown that political change of whatever color cannot be sustained without economic development and prosperity of the people. It is therefore necessary now to focus on economic transformation in order to sustain the democratic system and the momentum of change that has already taken place. Nepal is a country with tremendous potential. The government has identified tourism, hydropower, and agriculture as our main priorities. However, to achieve our goals in these and other sectors, we have to address the problem of infrastructure deficit with utmost priority. We have more than 42,000 megawatt of feasible hydropower potential, but we go through 12 to 15 hours of load shedding every winter. While we discuss our potential, almost 1,500 of our youth are forced out of the country each day to work in the dire conditions. Currently, there are almost 4 million Nepalese working mainly in the Gulf countries and Malaysia. We have to map out a clear strategy plan to ensure that we achieve economic development so that our youth do not have to leave the country for employment. The government's focus on economic development coupled with political will and stability will assist our drive for economic development. Towards this objective, our government has been working to encourage foreign direct investment in Nepal and plans to come up with investor-friendly policies. It is therefore at this crucial juncture we will obviously look to the support and encouragement of the international community in our endeavor to achieve economic development. Meanwhile, our foreign policy focus is also geared towards strengthening partnership with all our international partners. We have maintained excellent relationship with both our neighbors. We are fortunate to have very good relations with all the major donor countries. We want to ensure resurgence of Nepal's prestige with the international community. We also value our relations with US very much. The US is the vanguard of liberal human values, freedom, and democracy. The US is also a major development partner in Nepal through several programs, including USAID and recently the Millennium Challenge Corporation. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the US government and its people for its generous support towards economic and democratic transformation of Nepal. I look forward to similar support in the future and request the US government and its people for even more support at this crucial juncture. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Thapa. Appreciate those very thorough, candid comments. I want to just note that before we start our Q&A, you'll see that our ushers have note cards. And so if you have a question, please ask for a note card. Please write legibly, and they'll bring the questions on up for us. You spoke about the fact that there was some difficulties in the initial post-earthquake response. And I want to start a question out since this is the one-year anniversary. And we understand that in some areas, assistance is only now starting to flow out of all the assistance that was raised internationally as well as within Nepal. What lessons do you think we've learned collectively out of that process? And looking forward during this really important reconstruction period, do you feel confident that you've got the mechanisms in place for the kind of inclusive, transparent assistance to make this a critically important and successful phase?
Well, thank you very much. In fact, I agree that we are behind time, especially at a time when people were suffering. We could not give them enough support because of so many factors. There were political factors also, and also some factors which were beyond our control. It took some time, but I can definitely and very authoritatively say that now the process is very much on the track. There is a law, there is an institutional mechanism, we have international support, we have human resources, and the work has already been started. See, because Nepal alone is not in position to address the reconstruction problems. We need international support, financial support. But when we talk about international support, that comes with certain provisions. And that is quite understandable also, because the international community, when they are funding projects, they want to see to it that it reaches to the target community. So there are some provisions for which, in which it took some time for us to make environment that these provisions are implementable. So, but now I can tell you that the framework is there, the institution is there, commitment is there, and it has already started. The only worry that we have is the monsoon is very near.
Now upon you. Yeah,
just about a couple of months' time. So government's now priority is on one hand to support the victims on the reconstruction of their houses, but at the same time provide some relief during the monsoon also. So we are working on that.
Any key lessons that you would pull out of that for either the future or maybe for your neighbors, out of the difficulties that you had in the early days?
Yeah, main difficulties that we faced after the earthquake, so far the political factor is concerned that it's already overcome. We had some problems with the drafting of the constitution, and the political parties were fighting each other, and the environment was not conducive for us to launch a program. So first we agreed that at this situation, considering the urgency of the hour, we agreed on major issues, and the constitution is there. So the political lesson that we have learned is that especially in crisis like this, we should stand together. And this has now almost, I think, we have almost agreed on this. Second, on the disruption of transit and the supply system, and the southern border is concerned, there were misunderstandings with India. So, through diplomatic efforts, we have been able to clear the misunderstanding. I visited twice within 2 months' time, and later on, 2 months back, Prime Minister KP Oli visited India. Now, I can tell you that with India, our relation is excellent, is back to normal. Life has come to normal, and no disruptions at all. So, that is also clear. Institutional mechanism is also there. So far, the funding is concerned, still we lack enough resources. It is estimated that almost 700 billion US dollar loss. But the places that we have got so far is around 4 billion US dollar. So there is a deficit of almost 3 billion. So we are working on that, and we are approaching the international community for their generous support.
And I want to go, you spoke quite a bit about the Constitution. And you also noted, which I think many of us have experienced, after a big natural disaster, such as the earthquake, there's often this outpouring of unity. And I think we saw that in Nepal, where people in the mountains and the middle of the country, the Terai, all came together in this moment of unity and commitment and pledges to rebuild the country. But after the Constitution was promulgated in September, there seemed to be a reemergence of some of the divisions along geography, religion, caste. Are you seeing that you're past that? Are there ways that you're still seeking to ensure that there is a unity? I mean, thank you for the comments that you've already made about the difficulties of the Constitution. What's the road look like now?
Well, so far the grievances of some sections of Nepalese society are concerned. I think many of those issues have already been addressed by the Constitution. But having said this, I'm not trying to minimize the dissatisfaction. There are dissatisfaction, yes, but it is not that big as seen from outside. Life in Nepal is very much normal, except few districts which were disturbed. These days, those areas are also normal. No problem at all, but some political parties have, again, they have said that they will go in for agitation. Let me tell you very frankly. Now see, I am the convener of the negotiation team. When we sit with the agitating political parties and ask them what is your real problem? It's very difficult for them to define specifics. So they keep on saying, we are talking about the rights of the Madhesis. So when we ask them, what is the right, what right you want for the Madhesis? What right is not there in the constitution that guarantees the upliftment of the Madhesi people? They say that we want to preserve the identity of the Madhesi people. So what are the issues? There is no specific such, except when we kept on asking them, they raised 4 issues. 1, delineation of the electoral constituency on the basis of population. In fact, it was already there. But to satisfy them, we reorganized, we agreed to reorganize and reformulate the wordings of the constitution and amended the constitution. It was already there. But to satisfy them, we agreed to reformulate the wordings. Second, inclusive and proportional representation at all state organs. It was already there in the directive principle. They wanted some changes, we agreed on that also. Third, they say that there is a discrimination on the citizenship issue. But when we keep on probing them, what differences are there? Is there any discrimination between the hill people and the Madhesis on citizenship issue? No. There is no discrimination between hill or Madhesi people. It's all equal. All rights, including citizenship right, are equal to all the citizens of the country. One issue they keep on talking, and there is a strong feeling in even not in Tarai, only in Tarai, but in many other parts also, that in Nepal, when a Nepali boy marry a foreign girl and brings him home, we give her a naturalized citizenship that is provided in the constitution. But she has to go through certain process. It is not, the constitution doesn't deny. And that is necessary for a country like Nepal. See, what you have got to understand is Nepal has 1,850 kilometers open border with India.
And is this true if a Nepali woman marries a foreign man?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he can get naturalized citizenship.
Just checking.
Yeah. He can get naturalized citizenship, and he also has to go the same process.
Uh-huh.
I think for women in this context, she will get even much faster, because that is taken into consideration of the socio-cultural facts of Nepal. In Nepal, whether that's good or bad, I think it will. I think we can't say. But in normal situation, when a girl is married, she goes to the husband's house. It's almost negligible that any boy going to his wife's house. So what I'm trying to say is that because Nepal has 1,850 kilometers open border with India, we don't need passport, we don't need visas, we simply go and come. And we have so much of close socio-cultural relations. There is a very common tendency of marrying each other on the border side. So it is because of that reason that the automatic citizenship is not given, he or she will be given citizenship with due process. And there is no discrimination. And the fourth issue, which is very contentious, especially in Tarai, is the demarcation of the provinces. Now, see, let me tell you very frankly, once again, if you ask me, I'm against federalism in Nepal. Because I think for a country like Nepal, we don't need several states, whether that is economically viable or not. It's a big question mark. But since there is a very strong sentiment, it has been projected that this is the panacea of all ills. So, whether we like it or not, now it has become part of the Constitution.
Is this why you voted against the Constitution?
Yes.
Yeah. On this issue?
Yes, we voted because, but now since it is being part of the Constitution, now I am in the government, it is also my responsibility to implement that. And ironically, besides being a foreign minister, I am also the Minister of Federal Affairs and Local Development. That looks into the implementation of the federal structure. I am responsible for that also. Now it is my duty. At present, the Constitution has provided 7 provinces. The Madhesi parties, they have a very vague sort of demand. Sometimes they say that 1 province for the whole Tarai, sometimes 2. But we have told them very clearly that, okay, if this is your demand, we are ready to sit for negotiation. Let's discuss and let's create a consensus. Let's create a consensus through dialogue and amend the Constitution accordingly. So this has been the stated position of the government. What I'm trying to do is we are not minimizing, we are not ignoring. We know that that could be, as Assistant Secretary of State has rightly pointed out, although if we look at the present situation, it doesn't pose any threat. But in the long run, that might be a big problem. The Maoist insurgency, let me share this with the distinguished audience. In 1996, when the Maoist insurgency was started, they started with 1 pistol, 1 homemade gun, and approximately 100 ragtag guerrilla. But in 10 years' time, that spread like a wildfire and became a serious threat to our national existence also. So we had to compromise. We have that experience in mind. So we don't want to minimize whether that is very significant or not at present moment, whether it has any popular base or not, but we don't want to completely ignore that. And so we are trying our best. We have, see how flexible we can be. We have already shown. Within 3 months of time, before the implementation, we already agreed to have the amendment in the Constitution.
Deputy Prime Minister, you've already answered in that response about half of the questions that have come in, so well done. But I also want to just ask, we've been joined by the USAID Assistant Administrator for Asia, and you talked about the development partners. Jonathan Stivers, and I want to ask Jonathan if he'd like to ask a question.
And thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for your words today. I've learned a lot already since I've been here. I know the U.S. government and the American people have been very proud of the role they've played in the recovery in the aftermath of the devastating earthquake. I know we at USAID have been involved and active in Nepal for over 60 years, and Nepal is in the DNA of USAID. We have people after the tragedy who just came out of the woodwork, who speak fluently in the language, that want to do everything they can to help. And certainly, as you move forward, finding the best ways to help you is our priority. In the aftermath, we sent DART teams within hours of the earthquake. We had pre-positioned supplies. We helped keep the largest hospital open right after the earthquake that saved hundreds of lives. And our work together with the government of Nepal at the forefront was just absolutely critical in the immediate aftermath. But as we move forward now into the longer term reconstruction, there are a great many needs in so many different sectors of society. I would be interested in hearing how you would prioritize the needs that you have in your country moving forward in terms of reconstruction of housing or hospitals or schools. We know there is so much need, but with so much need, what are the top priorities for the government moving forward in the reconstruction?
And as you answer that, I just want to add in one of the questions that came from the president of the American Nepal Society saying, what are the timeline for the local elections as they are key for successful reconstruction?
Okay. I would like to thank USAID for the support that it has given to Nepal, not only on the post-earthquake support program, but since last almost 6 decades, if not more, 5 decades, I think USAID is a very popular name in Nepal. When we talk about development activities, we are very grateful to that. Regarding the priorities of the reconstruction, when we see the damages on the field, we come to the conclusion that every aspect is equally important. But we have to consider the resources, financial resources, human resources, technical resources. So taking into that consideration, our first priority is the construction of private houses. We want to give them support as earliest as possible. This has already been delayed. So our first priority is to private houses. Then comes school buildings and roads, bridges. And also, there has been a very severe damages on our touristic sites, cultural, historical monuments have been destroyed. So we need to reconstruct that also. We have a 5-year timeline. Construction of private houses within 18 months, 1 year to 1.5 years. Roads, bridges, 3 to 5 years. And within 5 years, all other construction work. So this is what we have planned, but it depends on many factors. Especially now, you see, the mechanism is there, environment is there, but we still lack human resources. We don't have enough engineers to send to the villages, and we do not have enough financial resources also, because the places that has been made has also not come. There are places, commitments are there, but till now, because some donor countries were skeptical whether this would be implemented or not, and they were not happy with the pace of work. But now I think they will understand the change that has taken place. But still we lack financial resources also. Regarding the question of election of the local authorities, I totally agree with the president of Nepal, America-Nepal Society. I thank you very much. I know the importance of this institution. Being a minister for federal affairs and local development also, it is within my responsibility to see to it that the elections are held at the earliest possible. Because of the Maoist insurgency, it's been almost 18 years that election hasn't taken place. Since last 13 years, the local authorities are run by the civil servants. Now we want to end that as earliest as possible. We need some political consultation. The government is prepared. Election Commission is prepared. According to our plan, with, I think, Karthik Bandale kun mahina paryo? November, September, October. I was asking, I know the Nepali date, so I was not aware of so September, October, right? October, November. So before...
this fall?
Yes, this fall we'll start the first phase of the election. It will take time. It will take time because in past also, it has been done in phases. It will take 2-3 months for to hold the election. We are thinking of starting from the earthquake-affected districts. There are 14 heavily affected districts, so we want to start with that, and followed by another 31 districts which are marginally affected, and the rest.
Deputy Prime Minister, unfortunately, we're out of time.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. As you can tell, Nepal has many, many people who hold the country close in their hearts. As Assistant Secretary Biswal said, nothing would make any of us happier than to have the full recovery and success for Nepal ahead. We wish you the very best with that effort. Ramro Sangojanos. And namaste. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Did I say that right?
No, perfect, Kamal. That was very good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.